Hello and welcome back to another episode. I am recording this while Remy sleeps, and let me just tell you, there's nothing that gets you to take quicker action and push aside perfection than when your baby is sleeping and your time is limited. So we'll see what I can get done while she is sleeping. Let me dive into the episode. I often get messages from people saying that they've tried it all when it comes to Instagram growth and it is not working. They've taken all the growth courses, they've implemented all my tips, they've consumed all the content, they've done all of the things, and it is not working. Now, I'm going to specifically address this in terms of Instagram growth, but this applies to anything in business, in my opinion, that you feel like you've tried it all and it's not working and you're ready to throw in, what do they say? What is that saying? Throw in the books? Throw in, I don't even know, whatever that is. Throw in the cards. I think that's the saying, actually. Throw in the books. Don't actually know where that came from. But I am going to give you a little I love you but moment here, as my coach likes to call it. I love you, but you haven't. You haven't tried it all. And the I've tried it all mentality is a really dangerous place to be. And why is that? It's because it means that you're not open to improving and trying new things. You're closed off. You're not experimenting and shifting. And you are sure as heck not learning because you've likely given up, or maybe not given up totally, but you've given up on opening up yourself to new education and new possibilities. And I really like to think of this mentality like when people put themselves, or it's like people who put themselves in rooms where they are the smartest person in the room and they expect to be pushed and to grow. There's no room for growth there. There's no opportunity there. Growth and opportunities happen when you're not the smartest person in the room. And the same thing applies to your outlook on Instagram. The growth and opportunities happen when you know that you haven't tried it all and when you open yourself up to new possibilities. And as someone who's posted over 1,000 pieces of content on Instagram, and posted hundreds of thousands of stories on Instagram, I promise you that there is always more that you can try. I haven't even tried it all. And that's really the beauty of not just entrepreneurship, but being on social media. If something isn't working, there is always something else that you can do. Now, I want to be clear here and say that I'm not saying you necessarily need to do more. Like, you don't necessarily need to post more or spend more time on Instagram. And maybe that is the answer to your problems, or maybe it's not. But what I'm specifically talking about here and what I mean is that there are always new strategies that you can try and test and experiment with and replace old strategies with. So this isn't necessarily about doing more and being more. It's just about getting more strategic with what it is that we are doing. Now, that's like the mindset piece of things, right? Again, that mentality is a really dangerous place to be in, but I really want to give you a few tangible things that I recommend doing when you feel like you've gotten to this place where you have tried it all. So I'm going to run you through 6 different things here. Number 1, I want you to ask yourself, but have I really done it all? Or is this just an excuse that I'm using to avoid doing the hard stuff, the things that are out of my comfort zone, the things that I am not familiar with? Are you just using it as an excuse? That's number 1. Number 2, I want you to open up your feed on Instagram and I want you to pull up your content pillars. And I want you to find a content pillar that you haven't talked about recently, or maybe that you haven't talked about at all. And I want you to post a piece of content around it. Number 3, I want you to ask your Instagram buddy. You have one. I know you do. I call them my Instagram besties and I talk about them, and Gabe's like, where did you meet these people? I'm like, oh, I've never actually met them. They're just my Instagram friends. Not just, but we haven't met in person. We haven't met in real life. We probably potentially met over Zoom or things like that. But I want you to ask your Instagram buddy to give you feedback on your Instagram account, and ask them, I want you to ask specific questions on what you want feedback on, like your bio, or maybe it's your branding, or maybe it's your reels that aren't performing well. So that way they can give you more helpful feedback versus just, hi, here's my Instagram account, go look at it. You're going to get a lot better feedback when you ask specific questions. So go find your Instagram buddy. Maybe you have a group of Instagram buddies. Throw people in a group chat and just say, hey, let's all audit each other's Instagram accounts and we're going to get feedback there. If you're like, hey, I don't have that, you could potentially look into hiring a coach to get that outside perspective. Maybe you have a partner who would give you their honest opinion. The reason why I didn't say partner getting started is because your partner is probably not going to give you, not that they're not going to give you their honest opinion, but they're not going to be like, most likely like super detail oriented and tell you all the things that you need to change and fix. Their job is mainly support, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But it just in my personal experience, Gabe wouldn't be the best person to go to do an Instagram audit. Love you, honey, if you're listening to this. Probably not, because you don't listen to my podcast. But anyways, go to your Instagram buddy. Go find someone to give you that outside perspective, because sometimes we're just so in our Instagram account, we're so in it in the day to day that we just need that fresh pair of eyes on our Instagram account to say, hey, here's a gap that you're missing, or hey, this isn't connecting with me, or hey, I don't really understand what this means. And then that's going to open up new avenues for you to try out new things. Number 4, I want you to open up your insights on Instagram and study your top 3 performing reels. Or if you don't post reels, study your top 3 performing posts. I want you to get into the nitpicky, gritty details. What is the length of it? What is the length of the hook in terms of characters? Is it short? Is it long? Is there 2 text boxes that write out the hook? What is the audio? How long is the caption? What is the call to action statement? Is there a call to action statement in the reel and in the caption? Where is it placed? What is the video in the background? How much or how little text is there on the screen on the reel? What is the content pillar that's being presented? What is the topic? I want you to, again, get into the nitty-gritty details and then create a reel based on what you learned from those 3 posts. Again, we're putting on our little detective cap, digging a little bit deeper here and seeing if we can find some things that bring consistent results in terms of top performing content, right? Number 5, I want you to think about something that you haven't ever done or something that you haven't done in a while and do it. Not because doing this one thing one time is suddenly going to help you to grow, but because it's going to help you to realize that there is more that you can do and that you haven't done it all. Now, I can name one thing right off the bat that probably 95% of people listening haven't done recently, and that is go live on Instagram. So again, I'm just like throwing things out there. As an Instagram expert, that's probably the number one thing that people haven't tried. And again, I'm not saying that trying this one time, going live on Instagram one time, is suddenly going to be the fix to all of your problems. No, but this is really about helping you to understand that there are other things that you can try out there that you haven't tried at all. And for me, something that I haven't done recently on Instagram is collaborate with another Instagram account. So I could go out, collaborate with another Instagram account. So really think about things you haven't done or something that you haven't done at all. Sorry, things that you haven't done in a while or something that you haven't done at all. Number 6, and lastly, put skin in the game. I want you to think of it like this. When you were a kid, your parents signed you up for piano lessons, and your teacher, your piano teacher, she gives you homework and you don't do it. You don't practice. Why? Because you have no skin in the game. If your parents made you pay for piano lessons, odds are pretty high that you would be more driven to practice and put in that work. And the same thing applies to business. I see this all of the time. You can learn a lot from free content, downloading freebies. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. You can learn a lot from that. But I've noticed that the people who invest are the ones who see the biggest results. And it's not necessarily because they're learning how to achieve their goals. Like, obviously that's helpful. Hopefully what they've invested in is helping them to move towards whatever outcome they're wanting to achieve. But because they have skin in the game, they're thinking, if I'm paying, I'm going to make this work no matter what. And I'm not saying you need to go drop tens of thousands of dollars. No, that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying you could spend $50. You could spend $100. You could spend $15. Whatever that is for you, right? Put some skin in the game. And my question to you is, so are you going to make this work, or are you just going to hope that it works for you? Okay, that's it for today's episode. And I just want you to remember, action is what gets you unstuck. Action is what beats overwhelm. Action is what gets you to where you want to go. So take action. I'll catch you on the next episode.